Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
A very important announcement to make. Politics Done Right will be moving from from Mondays at 9 o'clock, which we are doing right now, to Thursdays at 3 o'clock p.m. Again, let me let you guys know, Politics Done Right will be moving from this time slot to Thursdays at 3 p.m. I hope those of you that are able to move on and listen to the show and join the show and make comments in the show and be a part of the show will move with me 3 p.m.s on Thursdays. We're going to have a lot of fun. We should have more callers. We should have a whole lot more going on. So I tell you, it should be fun. Another item, today I have Jacob Santieng wasn't able to do my engineering today, so Robert kindly decided that he would engineer for me today. So if we have a few hiccups, he hasn't done a lot of engineering with me quite yet, but again, yeah, he hasn't done quite a bit of engineering with the Politics Done Right show, but he's a great guy, and he's going to pull it right through. Is that right, Robert? Are you going to pull it right through for us?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
You're working on it. Absolutely. Well, folks, it's time for Americans to get with the program. It's time that Americans remember that unions were responsible for the success, again, for the success of the middle class, for building the middle class. You know that. We know that. Are you tired of hearing about the decline of the middle class? Today I will have Joshua Lege, who is battling the big oil companies, the refinery companies, to get his people what they've earned, to get them all the rights they've earned. But you know, before we do that, what we do on this show, do you know what time it is? It's time for, you know what? It is time. It's time for the weekly blog post. Now, before I get into the blog, this wasn't the show for today. But I know that our brothers and sisters with the unions here, the refinery companies around Houston, they are going through their dire straits. And there's something that all Houstonians, all Texans, all Americans must remember. We are in this together, and while many have been taught that somehow we should be not for the unions, let's get with the program, folks. Let's learn a little bit, and let's not be indoctrinated. The title of the blog post, I went into my archives and I said I have to modify one that I did before to cover the times. So I modified this one. Marginalization of teachers, police, firefighters, public and union workers, genius for the right. Teachers are the bastions of our society, whether they are elementary school teachers or college professors. They are the ones that ensure the continuity of knowledge for the next generation. They provide the raw material for growth. A society cannot exist without safety. The police are the arbiters of our safety. We expect them to be there as they were at the Colorado tragic shootings. When we need them, they must be there with the resources necessary to protect us. Firefighters are not just for fighting fires. They are our first responders for wrecks, health incidences, and that cat stuck in the tree. When we need them, we need them. Ask all those affected by forest fires that jumped into neighborhoods all around the country. Ask about that burning building in Brooklyn. Ask about that burning ship in the Houston Ship Channel. Ask Texans who several years ago were hit by fires that could have been better handled absent budget cuts in firefighting by a derelict Republican governor who chose ideology over common sense or over his duty to Texans. We want that public worker at the end of that 311, that 911 call for poison control, traffic tickets, etc. We want that worker at the Social Security office there to help with needs only they can address. Bottom line, we want our government, we the people, there when we need them. Because these people provide all these services, we want and need. We would normally have rather large fondness of them in the aggregate. Moreover, we would rightfully want them compensated well. What about those workers whose jobs keep our economy flowing? The refinery worker, the baker, the factory worker. They are the ones that make our country the economic juggernaut that it is. What about the hourly secretaries, the treasurers, the waiters, the dishwashers, the janitors? Imagine living a few days without them. Society is interdependent and we need them all. Yet our corporations either do not compensate them or are attempting to remove all our unions that have fought for over the years. Companies no longer fear a government that will look out for the middle class worker deserving of a living wage and a path to economic freedom through wealth creation. This is anathema to the right-wing vision of government. They do not want a public sector with teachers, police, firefighters, and other public employees. They want to relegate all these services to private corporations. How are they accomplishing this? It is a two-stage process. Firstly, Americans must be convinced that government is inherently wasteful and inefficient. Secondly, the public sector must be demonized by certain public sector employees or overpaid because of demands by corrupt unions. They have been extremely effective in having that concept metastasize in much of the American psyche. The complete success would have private schools, government services outsourced to low-wage contract employment services, and who knows, the eventual privatization of firefighting and policing. Private companies, corporations, over the years with the help of right-wing government and right-wing think tanks, have been destroying unions. As such, the transfer of government services to private corporations is an implicit cost reduction that affords even more tax cuts to the wealthy. It is important to note that for the above services, government services, profit is an inefficiency. Underpaid union workers or underpaid non-union workers is an implicit transfer of wealth, the worker's wealth to the wealthy. It is a transfer of wealth from the middle class to the few owners of corporations that would provide these services. Because outsourced services generally pay less to employees and non-union employees make less, there is a depressive effect on local economies as the available dollars to spend in the given community fails. This is just a continuation of what afflicts America. We have already seen what outsourcing has done to private sector wages and employment. We have seen that inasmuch as the middle class has gotten much poorer over the last 30 years, the wealth of the select few continue their geometric growth. Is that the America you want? Is that the America we want? If it is not, then you must stay informed and vote your interest, the interests of your family, the interests of your country. If you want a better America, you must fight. We must fight for the unionization of all workers, and we must support our unions, something that we have not been doing in recent times because of the indoctrination. I have something else that I want to put up, but beforehand, I think I better get to Joshua Lege. Joshua's second time on the show. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty good in the ninth week of the strike.
Look, let me ask you something first of all. I came out there when you guys had that big movement downtown. First of all, I was impressed to see how you had those several hundred people, if not over 1,000 people. I mean, there were people as far as the eye could see, marching down to Shell, marching down to Lyondell, and then I think you guys went to Texas City. It is interesting because I received a note from I don't remember whom in the USW saying that the strike was actually resolved. What happened?
So that was actually the national package that then that we were trying to effectuate to get us the minimum amount that you can get for all the sites that are in the national oil bargaining, which is the conglomerate of 50 to 60 of us refineries and chemical plants that work together in order to get a fair contract. We got a fair contract, a four-year deal with good language in it. But locally, you can still have issues, and that's where we're at right now at Lyondell LaSalle, still hammering away with a company that just doesn't want to sit down more than a couple of days every 7 or 8 days.
So, in other words, and let me ask you something. I know that's sort of a stalling tactic, but what is the ultimate result of that stalling tactic?
Frustration. Really, it's frustration. It's a splintering of the workforce at this point. We've had some people who've made decisions that I think they'll regret in the future. And if what you have now is going to have a three-tier class of people when we go back, you're going to have scabs, you're going to have the hourly workforce, which I'm a part of, the union workforce,
right,
and you're going to have the salary. And for HR, that's going to be a nightmare now that you have to deal with three different kinds of people.
Right, because I imagine the people who broke the strike, they're no longer eligible to be a part of the union.
Nope. It's a democracy. They can come to beg to be in it, but we know their names and they're up on the wall. Even though there have been a few, I think that they've made a very foolish choice for a very temporary issue.
Okay, I tell you what.
This contract is a 4-year contract, guys, and it's a long one.
Right now, beforehand, I got a notice from you, and it's interesting. I want to read this because let me tell you one thing. I would have expected a lot more out of Houston in support of our workers who are at the refineries right now, union workers. I would have expected a lot more support because it is your success means the success of workers throughout the Houston area, period. A lot of people don't quite understand that, but if you're unsuccessful, the decline continues. And one of the reasons I wanted you on this show as well is we have to try to get across to our fellow Houstonians or fellow Texans or fellow Americans why it is that your fight is important, and not only why your fight is important, but why it is incumbent on all of us, middle-class Americans, poor Americans, to support the unions based on what is occurring to our middle class economy. But beforehand, you guys have a good reason. Here's a note that was sent to, I believe this note you said was sent to Lyondell or one of the company.
We gave it to them at the bargaining table.
And I want to read this real quickly to the folks, okay? And Terry, I'll be with you in a little bit so that you can get into the conversation. And folks, please do remember, this is KPFT 90.1 FM. Telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-KPFT. Please give us a call. We're discussing unions and why we must have unions. And to put it bluntly, as I stated in my blog post, I think every American should be unionized. And I want to even bring that into the professional services a little later. But here's the letter that was sent by our brothers from USW to the company. Since our last contract, these guys are not asking for something for nothing now. Since our last contract, we have established a safety record second to none. Last year, we went a full year with 0 in-house recordables, something that never achieved before and unprecedented in an industry such as ours. We have also played a key role in the record-setting profit seen this last year. We are running this refinery better today than ever. And what do we get? What do we want for this? Nothing. We are not greedy. A rollover from the last contract is all we expect. To try and punish the very group that puts their lives on the line every day to help LyondellBasell reach these milestones is not only unconscionable, but an insult and a slap in the face. During the recent bankruptcy, this group accepted less than the industry standard. Now we are making record profits and are expecting nothing extra. We are strong and we are proud. We are very proud for good reason. It is unfortunate that you do not share our pride. We work hard to make this refinery the success that it is. We take pride in doing the best job day in and day out. There is nothing fair about your approach to these negotiations. We would accept a rollover local contract. Attaching the letter of agreement is contingent on the acceptance of the international contract. This will be fair and equitable agreement for all. We are not the greedy party here. We are in it all or nothing. We will be happy with nothing. Nothing changed. We are not even remotely the greedy party here. Folks, these are people who during the bankruptcy they took their cuts. The company is making record profits. And what do they want? More cuts. That is the economy that we're in, and that affects us all. Joshua, tell me or tell your Houston people, your Texans, why it is that you think these guys are asking for more blood in as much as you've moved them from bankruptcy to record profits.
It's just pure greed at this point. It's an understanding that unionism and that we're one union site out of many in LyondellBasell, out of all the other places that they have. They need to break us in order to continue to put downward pressure on the cost of labor and benefits at this point, because we do have some of the best benefits and pay at the Lyondell sites. And what's crazy is they want to bring us down below even their corporate standard at this point. And it's just pure greed at this moment. No reason for it.
Now, this and to our listeners, and this is why I say all the time, I'm surprised that more Americans are not involved in defending, in coming to the into the aid of our fellow union workers. Think about what they're trying to. These guys are well paid. There's no doubt about that, and they won't argue that. I've spoken to quite a few of them on the picket line before, and what I've told them is, when they tell me, oh, this strike is not necessarily about pay, but about, mostly about our safety, etc. I said, that's fine, and I agree with you. You should have a good safety and all that good stuff, but hell, you must be paid consummate to what you have brought to the company as well. And as you stated, you brought them out of bankruptcy into record profits, just like they made the executives in that company got their bonuses for the company going positively green. That should be allowed the workers as well. Now, many people have a tendency to believe that unions are bad, or somehow a lot of non-union people have something that I usually refer to as union envy. What that means is, what the plutocracy has taught them, what corporate America has taught them, is to look at your job, Joshua. Look at your job. Look how much you're making. I am not making that much. That is what that other non-union worker may be saying. I'm not making that much, so what are you complaining about? What they're not seeing in the big picture. They should not be asking, why do you make what you make? They should be asking, why am I not making what you make? And what must we do within society to change and ensure that we all are able to make a living wage? And how does that start? That starts by the unionization of America. People getting together to demand what is theirs. Joshua, I'm going to bring you back in, but we have people on the line, so I want to get to Terry. Terry, come on in.
Hey, good evening, brother. Just listening in and learning.
Great. So you don't have anything to add at this time? So,
no comment at this time.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Wayne, come on in.
Egberto, hey, Egberto, how you doing?
All right, Wayne, come on in, my dear brother. Talk to me.
Great show you're having tonight, and it's in direct good to hear tonight that we're speaking up for unions here in the state of Texas. And here right now, what you're saying about those workers in Lyondale and Brazil. Me being a union member for some almost, I would say now 25 years or better, and to see how Texas is regressing and trying to run away from union participation, it's not a good thing. But I also think that we have to start teaching our young folks about unionism. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Egberto?
yes, I do. And I tell you, Wayne, I also met Joshua Joshua gave a speech, I think, at the HCDP headquarters. And what I loved about Joshua is that he was a young man, and the union mantra has been going away from America in general. So unless we have young people that understand what unions are all about, we're going to lose it altogether. Joshua is a very young man, and he's really holding the torch. So tell us what you're doing as far as not only currently with the problem with Lyondale Brazil, but what are you doing to ensure that we prop up the union, Joshua?
Me, personally, I'm the next generation coordinator for USW, but it's also about touching new and younger people in a way that they understand what this fight is about and why we had this fight once before and why it's coming again. They need to understand the downward pressure that they want to put on not only how many more hours they want us to work, but next thing is, of course, is making our labor cheaper. And once you make people understand that and then they connect the dots, you find them, they see the clarity that you're trying to bring to them.
Right. Wayne, could you turn your radio down a little bit? I think the delay is affecting the thing. But while you do that, I want to tell our listeners something, because it is people are busy. People are going to work every day. You know, they are not, a lot of times they're not thinking about these issues. They're not thinking about why they should be raising hell in supporting a union. They're not thinking about why your problem should be their problem, not realizing that unless we make your problem our problem, your problem will inherently be our problem, and it has already manifested itself. Here's an important thing that Joshua told us, and I hope people understood what they're saying. Lyondale Brazil was in bankruptcy. The union took cuts. Their salaries were cut. They're making record profits, and yet, and in as much as a lot of this fight is about safety in the refineries, in as much as these are safeties in Lyondale Brazil, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. These guys are not reaping the benefits for the sacrifices that they made when the company was underwater, and they're not reaping the benefits of the company making record profits. That doesn't only apply to these union companies. Think about all the companies that you folks work for. Go and watch CNBC for one day and watch how great companies are doing in the United States right now. It isn't the executive of those companies that are making these record profits. It isn't the salaried professionals that are making these salaries. It's you. You guys everybody from the secretary to the janitor to everybody else plays a part in the success of that company. Yet there are only a select few who are actually reaping the benefit, the rewards. That is why the middle class is in the state that it is. It starts with you. It really does start with you. Wayne, you have anything to add before I jump to Robert?
Yeah, I have this to add. Yes, what you're saying, Egberto, is exactly right. But here's the thing that we have to teach young folks now.
Yes, sir.
We have to let them know that every time that they try to come in, and just because they say it's a job, and they don't understand what unions are all about, and the reason why we have unions, and the right for us to have a union, and to pass laws and try to pass laws that keeps our pay scale to those that continuously progress us.
Yeah, a living wage.
Yeah, a living wage that continuously progress us in this country. Those are those companies that want to take back things like the living wage or try to regress on paying those young people that's coming in now. These young people have to understand that when you come into this job and they say, okay, well, we're going to give you this here, pay you this here amount, but you're still going into a dangerous job. There's people out there that's been working this job for 30 years or better. They getting paid to do that job, the same job that you coming in to do for
a lesser amount. Yes,
for lesser money.
We want to talk about that in a little bit, Wayne. Wrap it up for me so I can move on, because you mentioned a very important thing, and that's where the outsourcing and contracting that I spoke in the blog came into play. So wrap it up for me. Okay.
Well, outsourcing is never going to be a good thing for any union. So why do we have that? Teachers and anything else that they're trying to outsource, there's never going to be a good thing.
Hey.
But let me say this tonight, that all people should be looking to support unions. Lyondale, Basel, and all of those people that's on strike, they have my support. I really wish I could know when it comes into the Port of Houston what tanks I don't have to unload.
Well, I tell you what,
I'm saying?
I'm going to ask.
But let me let you go.
Thank you,
at that
Wayne.
Point when I said that, and we'll talk again. I'm going to listen to the.
Hey,
rest
Wayne,
of the
do
show
remember
tonight.
though, the show is moving to going to be Thursdays at 3 p.m. going forward. Okay.
I hope we get more time.
All right, mate.
We need more time.
All right. Okay, sir.
Right.
Hey,
Okay.
Before we get to the other caller, I want you to do me a favor, Joshua. I want you to tell Houstonians, in the Houston area, what can they do to help you get your message across, and not only get your message across, help.
So the biggest piece everyone needs to know is that we're manning the strike lines out there at 12,000 Lawndale. It's the Lawndale LaSalle Houston refining facility there in Pasadena, Texas. Actually, Houston, Texas. I'm sorry. And our union hall is at 704 East Pasadena Freeway here in Pasadena, Texas, right off the 225 exit. And we're taking not only donations there, but if you go out there any time of the night or day, you can help break those guys' day up and help them get through the 8-hour shifts. We're doing 8-hour shifts right now on our picket duty. Help them break it up, and just tell them that you believe in us, that you're supporting us, that you want to assist in helping walk picket or whatever it may be.
I can tell you,
some water out to them.
I tell you what, up there in Kingwood, the Kingwood area Democrats, I know they're going to be sending something over to you guys, and we're hoping that other people take heed. Look, folks, we need to support our union, so I hope that folks would be out there, whatever assistance you can give these guys so that they can stay in the fight, because this is a fight that they must win. I mean, the funny thing about it is they're not asking for much. In my case, or the way I feel, they're not asking for near enough. And I think it is incumbent upon Americans to actually support these guys, because they are the last. They're on the last line of defense for the middle class and wages. Look at the wage scales and look at what has been happening. Look at how our income has been falling. So I think Robert is telling me here that I must be doing a station ID about now. So
yes, you're listening to KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston and areas surrounding Houston, and out into the hinterlands where an animal still exists, and reptiles and amphibians and an occasional bird. You can tune in in Galveston at 89.5, Goodrich Livingston 90.3, and Huntsville 91.9. And back to you, Egberto.
Okay, I'm going to take Robert, and then Tony or Tori, you'll be next. Robert, come on in.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Talk to me, Robert.
Oh, my God. I can't believe I just heard that.
You can't believe you just heard that.
I can't believe I just heard that. It sounds just like me. Oh, my God.
Robert, we love each other, right? You're my bud.
Man.
Talk to me, Robert. Talk to me. Let us hear about unions.
I want to talk to you about intelligence.
Yes.
And the common thread that should hold everything together is intelligence.
Okay.
And we're talking about intelligence from the elite, the corporate elite who have supposed intelligence, right?
Right.
And then we're talking about the common man, the worker, who has a boatload of ground-based intelligence. And so now, how can you connect the corporate elite intelligence with the ground-based intelligence? Well, unions are a perfect reason for connecting with intelligence because unions train each other. They are a brotherhood. They are a brotherhood, and they train each other, and they train their young'uns, and they do everything they do to make sure that everything's going to run smoothly. Now, the upper echelon corporate intelligence, they might not actually understand what does it mean to run smoothly. Well, it means you have to work together. And what it means is we all have to work together. But we're not going to give up our rights. We're going to make sure that we're not going to get beat down and chiseled into the ground. No way, no how. That ain't going to happen.
That is why we have folks like Joshua on the front line. That is why we have folks like Joshua calling in to think about the last time you listened to a talk show and see anybody give the entire piece to a union or to a union movement or something that supports people. Think about that.
Yeah, that's too much like community.
Yeah, it is too much like, it's too much like thinking about your fellow American, your fellow worker, that sort of a thing. And that is what, before I forget, folks, we still have some open lines, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738.
Please call.
Jam, KPFT.
Absolutely. I like the Jam KPFT. But yeah, Joshua, let me ask you this. Where do you think the negotiations really stand right now in getting our people back to work?
I still see them as almost like a loggerhead at this point. They keep trying their stalling tactics, and it's all about trying to lower our value of labor. They want us to work more hours and pay us less now, and that's a part of the concessions that they are wanting to push on us while they continue to increase their pay at the executive level. I don't remember if you remember this or not in our last interview, but about 3 months ago, actually, the board of directors voted themselves to be executive board of directors, giving themselves even bigger golden parachutes. So it's very funny that they do that, and then a couple of months later ask for us to take concessions.
I want to tell you something, Joshua, because it may sound cheesy or cheap what I'm going to say here, and I'll get back to you, Robert, and Terry, stay with me, but this is important here. Landell, Bissell, and all of corporate America can really screw our employees because most Americans don't know quite what they're doing. In other words, unless they're disinfected, unless the light is placed onto them, nothing is known. So here is one thing that I want to tell my union brothers and my union sisters, and this is very important. We live in a new world. Joshua, I see you on Facebook. I see you on all these other platforms. But I will be frank with all my union brothers and sisters. Where you are not effective is in telling your message. And how do we tell your message? We need you to tell folks like us that have turned the blogging sphere, that have turned the social media sphere into action. We need the numbers that you know. You just told me something that I just learned, Joshua. You said it before, but sometimes you have to tell people 2 or 3 times before it becomes a part of their psyche. You've told me the differential that you've had between the folks that are executives and their pay increases and what they want to do to you. In effect, they're asking you to transfer your income to them, given that they want you to sign a contract that pays on average less while they get more. Those are things that Americans can understand. They can't understand a lot of things like safety. Yeah, they understand it, but it quite doesn't hit home. But when it comes to the point that a company is viciously taking advantage of its employees, I think they'll see that. So I have something that I want to tell your union and every other union. Come to the folks that are out there putting messages out. Messages about inequality and plutocracy and all these things out. They can frame that argument for you to Americans so that Americans begin to care. But we have to know what we need to. We have to know the reality of your predicament, and a lot of times we don't. And if we don't, I guarantee you that the most of the average American citizen does not, the average do not either. So, Robert, I need to move on to Tari. Is there a quick thing that you want to add beforehand?
Yes, unions are very intelligent. They have all kinds of knowledge. They have deep knowledge, historical knowledge. They have all the kind of knowledge that runs all of those chemical systems down there in Baytown and Texas City and everything like that. If they go and hire scabs and hire people, outsource people, their plants will just blow up.
Right. Well, let me tell you, Robert.
Works, man.
Thank you.
You install a flange backwards or something?
Well, that has happened before. Joshua, I'm pretty sure, can tell you some stories about that. But I got to go to Tari, Robert. But as usual, thank you for the call. And let me tell you something. Our mantra is going to be going forward, making sure we are supporting these unions and getting these unions' messages out. Thank you, Robert. Tari, did I get that name right?
Tori, that's me.
Tori, how you doing, my friend?
I've always enjoyed your show. Here's my perspective on unions. I like unions and like anything that helps the working class people. Mm-hmm. But I'm surprised that I never hear people that advocate for unions advocate for the next step beyond unions. And before I tell you what that is, I might let you guess. But
I'm scared to ask what's the next step.
Of what's wrong. You know, basically, corporations, big business, they're hierarchies. They concentrate power, and then not just economic power, but political power.
Right.
And so unions, if you want to just look at these things dispassionately, you know, like the way power flows, like plumbing, unions are the workers' efforts to form another type of hierarchy.
Yes, it is.
That is big enough to counter the hierarchy of the incorporated business.
Sure.
And so, in essence, it's a reaction. Okay, it's not a proactive thing. It's people defending themselves.
Right.
And so it's a defensive action. It's a defensive game. Okay,
right.
And if using some sports metaphors here, but what is the offensive game? Where the workers are really making ground instead of just trying to defend a little bit of ground, trying to keep from going backwards.
I have an idea of what you're going to be talking about. I mean, unions are public, but I think the reality is worker-owned corporations. I think that's where you're going.
Yeah.
And I have been, I went to several different, I don't remember the name of the economist that I went to see at a center out here speaking about it. And we spoke about co-ops, and my only concern was that it seemed like the second generation or third generation of a co-op always devolved into some sort of a shareholding corporation. But I mean, that said, I think you have that exactly right. Corporations should be we would want that. It's likely not to occur in our lifetime, but even Germany has a better.
What do you mean? There's hundreds and hundreds of co-ops.
I know that.
There's big ones.
Don't get me wrong.
Farmers, almost every independent farmer belongs into a co-op.
You are correct.
Where they share equipment and granaries and things like that.
Tori, I wasn't disagreeing with you on that particular, that whether there are not a lot of co-ops. I agree with you because I've actually gone to the social justice program here in Houston where several co-ops from Austin came down trying to get people into creating different types of co-ops. I'm speaking more about when will LyondellBasell ever become a co-op? Not likely in our lifetime. However, we could actually change structures somewhat like Germany, where on the board is the union is a member of the board as well, which would then take the employees' interests at hand, assuming they are not co-opted, which sometimes happen. But that notwithstanding that, when unions were strong, the middle class was strong. When unions were fighting, the middle class wages were increasing. We saw exactly when Reagan came into power what occurred. And what occurred when Reagan came into power was the destruction of the unions, and with that, the destruction of American wages. I mean, it's
okay,
all...
Well, you're given post-World War II full employment. You're given that unions. Don't give them all the credit. I mean,
won't...
It's the Europeans destroying all the manufacturing capacity in Europe and us in Japan. When coming out of World War II, the unions benefited by the U.S. being the only place left that had any manufacturing capacity.
That's true.
For 15 or 20 years, there was full employment because we were supplying every bicycle and car and refrigerator in the entire world. Okay, so don't just give unions the credit for that. But the thing of it is, the capitalist class didn't mind that so much. They didn't mind that the workers were making, the whole baby boom thing, except, increased wages, unions. They didn't mind that as long as their factories were working at complete capacity and they were making record profits.
Right.
They didn't even complain too much about the 91% tax rate.
Right.
What really got Reagan motivated and these other kind of neocons to cut the middle class down. What they didn't like about unions and workers' prosperity in general, and is that workers had free time. And with all the extra free time, mom didn't have to go to work, in the middle class suburbs. The kids all got to go to college. The colleges, I was in California in the 60s, the colleges were free tuition, basically, or just next to nothing.
Right.
And so people had time for social revolutions. And because of all this free time, that's what led to the civil rights movement, the women's movement, all the psychedelic and jazz music that happened, the explosion of art and culture, art.
In other words,
political organizing.
Right.
And the point.
That's not good.
The point is that the middle class stopped the imperialist war in Vietnam.
Right.
And, these capitalists, they can put up with all kind of stuff, middle class, this and that, people making good wages. But when you start stepping on their foreign policy,
it's
then,
more than
then they got to fight back.
Right. Hold on a second.
Then you're threatening them politically.
Right. Tori?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to interrupt you there because there's a very important piece that you're missing as well. Not missing, that you didn't mention, and that was the Powell Manifesto. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it ties exactly into what you're saying. They realized that that Americans in general were coming to see what the plutocracy was really doing, and that its demise was upcoming. So that's where we got all the think tanks that taught you how to think differently or misunderstand it differently. And by the way, I see Sandra dropped off. Sandra, give us a call. I want to hear some female voices on this call. Somehow we're dominated by men speaking. So ladies, give us a call, 713-526-5738. We want your opinion. We want you to keep us straight as well. Anyhow, but yeah, Tari. That is important that we actually get that message out. But look, I need to jump to lead demers. Is there a quickie you want to finish up on?
No, that's just about it. But we need more leisure time so that we can organize politically, and that's one thing that. That's where they hit us. That's the reason why it's the hit on the working class.
Something
it's not
you
because
just
they don't like us.
Right.
It's that they don't want us to have leisure time so that we get involved in politics.
That's a very smart observation as well. The more leisure time you have, you know what it goes. But thank you very much for calling, Tori. And Lee Damers, you are next as soon as Robert gets finished picking up that call. So let's see. Tori's out, Lemur's in. Lee Demers. Lee, come on in. Lee, you're in. Lee? I guess Lee, he hung up or we hung up. So let's go to the next one, number 2. I don't know who that is. Go ahead. You're on. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Hi, this is Ken. I'm a retired Communication Workers of America.
Yes, sir.
Union member.
Yes.
And what you're listening to your program here.
Mm-hmm.
Just before I retired, I saw AT&T moving people in offices around like they were chess pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And folks are coming out of Oklahoma, being moved to Texas. The office I was in Houston, they were going to move up to around Dallas. You have people here that have homes and families, whatever else, and the company's going to destroy them because, I mean, people have to sell their houses or retire, and that way they get rid of all the old folks and whatever else and get in all these new people there at lower wages here. For years, the union tried to get the company, AT&T, Southwest Bell, to include retiree benefits in their contract. And companies kept saying, no, it's not necessary. We'll take care of the retirees. Retirees have to pay for the benefits now.
Right. Yes.
And it's just, you know, and all this money that AT&T saving, they're over, from what I heard, and I can't confirm that, they bought Cricket, and I think they were going after T-Mobile, and it's you know, it's just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we have, and this is what we have to do. What was your name, sir? Because I didn't get it on the screen.
Ken, K-E-N.
Ken, this is what we have to get around. Let me see if Joshua wants to add something real quick here first before I say anything. Joshua, you want to add anything?
Not really.
Okay. No, that's
no.
Yeah.
The last caller, I tell you that he really hit on a subject that I'm about, and that's time.
Exactly, leisure time.
You have to have leisure time. That's why, for me, that's why we're also on the strike, because you got to remember the old AFL-CIO days: 8 hours of work, 8 hours of leisure, and 8 hours of sleep.
Absolutely.
I think we have to work towards that again.
Absolutely. Now, coming back to you, Ken, it's interesting that you say that, because these are the games that they play with us. Remember, Americans need to realize that unless we're unionized, we have power as well. In other words, where we can go into a corporation and demand and say, this is what we want, this is what we demand, we are nothing but a commodity. Just like when they put us on a spreadsheet, just like you have the ore that comes from the bauxite that they process, you are just another piece of the commodity to make their product to ultimately reap the capital out of you.
Yeah, because years back they used to say that the employees were the most valuable asset.
Right.
Now they're expendable.
Absolutely. Ken, it was a pleasure talking to you. We're running out low on time. Thank you for calling. Remember, the show is moving to Thursdays at 3 p.m., but let's go to Jim.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Ken. Jim, you're on. Jim, that's number 3, Jim? Yeah, come on in, Jim.
Okay, the statement someone made, you know, where do we go from here? Our problem right now is we have a completely destroyed or purchased, let's say, Democrat and Republican Party on a two-party system.
Yes.
We need another party, and I would propose that we need a party called the Union Party.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, I've heard all those different types of things before. We have
they're saying we can't join a union, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We can't have anything to do with the union. Well, let's let them know what we really want, and let's form a party.
Right.
And you would then have more support than you would ever dream of for this party, primarily because there's a lot of us out here.
Let me tell you something. I'll be frank with you, Jim. Okay, if you can make that happen, I mean, people have all kinds of ideas, right, about what needs to be done, and honestly, I am always, I'm never the type to shoot down any idea, because one of these things are going to stick at some time. Personally speaking, the way the system is set up, rigged against a third party, I find that would be rather difficult. Maybe you know something that I don't, and if that is the case, let's see it happen. But I think in the near term, the one thing Americans can do is make sure that unions are strong. That is the one thing Americans can do. If Americans started supporting unions, it would begin to put a fear into the plutocracy in such a manner that you will see corporations beginning to behave, beginning to not be so corrupt in or taking all and leaving the scraps for everybody else. Because there's nothing like the fear of it coming apart. And right now, that's what has happened in America. They don't have any fear. They don't fear unions because they've had the Heritage Foundation and many other think tanks tell you, Americans, why unions are bad, why right to work for less states is better than the other states. Even though, if you were to look at all the right to work for less states, Texas and others, the adjacent states that have unions working the way they should, their wages are higher. Their wages are higher. So, I mean, we have to get away from the fallacies that are placed into our minds that have suddenly become Americans' reality and actually put the real reality in there. And that's why, Josh, what I'm saying to you and the unions is it incumbent upon you guys to teach those of us that are out there putting information out what the realities of your situation is, and give us information of what's the reality of the situations of the masters, the people that are putting you down. Do you follow what I'm saying, Joshua?
Oh, yeah. This is Jim. Yes, I do. And let me.
Wait, hold on, Jim. I actually speaking to Joshua on that one.
Oh, we have to. We have to teach each other, and that's like you had asked me at the beginning of the program about, what my role is, and it's to teach.
Right.
You have to have more people involved, and in order to do that, you have to teach the younger people what it was about and the struggles that came before us. Or we shall struggle again, like we're doing right now, to strike to make them understand.
But you also have
to understand that we're people, and we not only want to be paid properly, we want time off as well.
But Joshua, let me tell you something even further. You have to teach guys like me. You have to teach guys like that reporter at the Chronicle. You have to teach guys like, when you're teaching some of the workers, you're singing to the choir. When you're teaching, when you get folks like those of us who have some sort of a pulpit, whether that be the internet, whether that be internet radio, broadcast radio, and all these things, there are not very many people that actually want to carry your message. There are not a lot of people carrying your message. And there are some of us that are...
because people have forgotten the message.
Right. And what I'm saying is...
the uphill battle that we have to wage at this point.
And we want...
the loss.
Yes, and there's some of us that want to carry your message. But we need you to tell us how to carry your message, because we know, I can tell you all about the plutocracy. I can tell you all about income inequality. I can tell you all those things. But how do I localize that to your situation to let Americans or the Houstonians know they need to support you? Jim, you have anything else quick to say before I jump to Tim?
Yes, I do. You're talking about teaching. Let me do some teaching then.
Real quick, Jim, because I'm running out of time.
Okay. I was born in a union, not a union house, but in a company house, in basically a company town. We got our food from the company store,
yes,
which deducted the purchase and the rent and everything from my dad's paycheck. He made $1.17 a day. This is before unions now. Now, by the way, I'm an old man.
Hey, you know what? Tim, you let me tell you this. Jim, you're going to have to hold that story and tell me that story on Thursday, then my next show, which is Thursday at 3 p.m. because I got to let some other people, and my phone lines are starting to heat up again.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Jim. Tim, come on in. Tim.
Thank Bob Gardner for introducing me to it. The thing that I've really noticed about unions is that they usually have a form of a trade that they can teach. And in the 70s, they really didn't have this big push for everybody going into higher education.
Right.
And I think what we're seeing now is an education bubble where students are basically they're betting on which jobs are going to be available. Whereas with apprenticeships and trade unions and such like that, you can really get into a position by the spots that are available.
Right.
And I think that nowadays, the user interface is just very high. It used to be that you'd had to learn a lot of the technology, but now we have kids using iPads and whatnot. The user interface has come up to meet the technology.
Right.
So we've still got a high-tech workplace, but you just don't need to go to that much school to learn it.
Thank you very much for that message, Tim. And I need to move on to Gus. We're running out of time. Look, remember to change the time and come on in. Gus.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Oh, quick, man. Talk to me, my friend.
Oh, man, I just want to say, man, the union been with me a long time ago when I was out there in the drug scene. But, what I'm telling you, we used to be unionized to do what we needed to do. And that thing, 8 ain't going to work. You got to be 12 hours, man.
Okay, Gus, look, thank you for your call, my friend.
Hey, what you changing, man? You changing up?
Yes, we are going to be moving to Thursdays at 3 p.m., okay?
When that start?
That starts on the 9th.
Oh, okay, then I'm looking out for you, bro.
All right.
I love listening to you, man.
Thank you, sir, and you have a wonderful day, and stay good, all right?
Yeah.
All right, take care, my friend. Take care, Gus. Okay, Joshua, we have about a minute, a little over a minute, or about a minute left now. Tell Houstonians your last message, and I hope that you're going to be feeding me some information that I can write some blogs and get it plastered all over the place, get you hundreds of thousands of views, my friend.
Well, I sure hope that my message, which is concessions in the middle of record profits and expanding executive board of director pay, hits home for everyone, because these companies have stewards. They aren't owners anymore, and the stewards are running amok and not only transferring your labor and your pay into their pockets, but they're doing much more than that. They're, as one used to tell me, they're destroying dreams, because not only are they lowering your pay, but they're also destroying the dreams and the ability for you to send your kids and your grandkids to college or to have a happy family time. That's going to continue to make us work more and for less pay. And at what point do we stand up and not only support what we're doing out there, but where is my ability to now support you when you make the call? It's about us as Houstonians, supporting each other, right, to get a better life.
Joshua Lege, thank you very much for all that you're doing with your union. Everybody owes you a thanks. And Houstonians, please do support USW. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Terry, quick 5 seconds.
People want less unions. Companies want less unions for the same reason criminals want less cops.
I love that. Thank you very much, folks. I do appreciate you listening to one more edition of Politics Done Right. Remember, we're moving to Thursdays at 3 p.m. Thursdays at 3 p.m. is the new Politics Done Right. And with that, I am out. Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.